concrete giants, raw geometric forms, and a sense of uncompromising strength. This is brutalist architecture, often misunderstood, sometimes loved, sometimes despised, but never ignored. Today we're diving into the world of brutalism, what it is, its most famous structures, the controversies surrounding it, and why it still sparks debate even today. Brutalism emerged in the mid-20th century, roughly from the 1950s to the 1970s. The term itself comes from the French phrase béton brut, meaning raw concrete, popularized by the Swiss-French architect Le Corbusier. While many think brutalism is about being brutal in appearance, it's actually about exposing the materials of construction, primarily concrete, steel, and glass, without unnecessary decoration. So, what does brutalism look like? Think massive, fortress-like structures with repetitive geometric forms. The style was widely adopted for government buildings, universities, and public housing due to its affordability and perceived durability. Some of the most famous examples include the Barbican Estate in London, a sprawling residential and cultural complex that stands as one of the world's most iconic brutalist projects. Boston City Hall, a divisive structure that some see as a masterpiece and others as an eyesore. The National Theatre in London, a cultural hub known for its dramatic, angular forms. Habitat 67 in Montreal, a utopian experiment in modular housing by Moshe Safdie. The Brewer Building in New York, once home to the Whitney Museum, now the Frick Madison. Trellick Tower in London, once considered dystopian, now a sought-after residence. Soviet-era brutalist structures, like the Palace of Culture and Science in Poland and the National Palace of Congresses in Albania, which served as imposing symbols of power. Brutalism was more than just an architectural style, it was an ideology. After World War II, many cities needed rapid rebuilding. Brutalist architecture represented modernity, function, and a break from past traditions. But it also had a political side. Many brutalist buildings were created for public use, symbolizing democracy and accessibility. However, the style's stark aesthetic also became associated with totalitarian regimes, particularly in Eastern Europe, where massive concrete buildings were used to house bureaucratic institutions. But brutalism wasn't just about politics. It was also about experimentation. Architects like Paul Rudolph in the United States pushed the style to new heights, designing multi-level, sculptural spaces with intricate concrete detailing. Others, like Allison and Peter Smithson in the UK, envisioned brutalism as a way to create utopian communities. By the 1980s, brutalism fell out of favour. People found these buildings cold, oppressive, and even dystopian. Many brutalist structures, once symbols of progress, were neglected or demolished. Critics argued that these monolithic concrete buildings lacked warmth, and their deterioration over time only reinforced negative perceptions. But in recent years, something interesting has happened. Brutalism is experiencing a revival. Social media, photography, and a renewed appreciation for mid-century design have led many to see these buildings in a new light. Architectural historians and preservationists argue that these structures represent a unique chapter in design history, one that should be preserved rather than erased. One particularly compelling example of the battle over brutalist architecture is the story of the Sirius Building in Sydney, Australia. Designed in the late 1970s by Tau Gophers, Sirius was a bold public housing project featuring a modular concrete design that stood in stark contrast to its surroundings. By the 2000s, government officials sought to sell the building, leading to a public outcry. The campaign to save our Sirius was led by residents and preservationists, including Mira Dimitriou, an elderly blind woman who had called the building home for decades. Despite opposition, the movement gained widespread support, and in 2019, Sirius was granted heritage protection, ensuring that its legacy would not be erased. The fight to preserve Sirius reflects the larger struggle to appreciate and protect brutalist architecture in the modern era. Today, brutalist architecture has become an icon of both nostalgia and rebellion. Some fight to preserve these concrete giants as cultural landmarks, while others still push for their demolition. Love it or hate it, one thing is clear: brutalism refuses to be forgotten. Interestingly, contemporary architects are taking inspiration from brutalism, reinterpreting its raw aesthetic in new and innovative ways. From boutique hotels to modern apartment complexes, the influence of brutalism can still be seen in today's design trends. So, what do you think? Are these buildings cold and oppressive, or are they bold and visionary?